AM 630.
WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson with you. We're live in Tampa for the Republican National Convention. A fun night last night. Chris Christie gave a big speech, and Romney was asked. A lot of Republican governors, Scott Walker, Bob McDonnell. Dan Bongino joins us now, Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate in Maryland. He's running against Ben Cardin. Mr. Bongino. Dan, how are you? Good to see you.
Thanks for having us back. Appreciate it.
Well, I know I see you in the afternoon, then you're here late in the evenings, and you're here at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're working it like a politician right now, huh?
Yeah, my eyeballs. I've got the red streaks crossing them, zigzagging.
You having a good time down here?
Yeah, I am. A lot of great contacts, a lot of great exchanges of ideas. Met our California Republican nominee for Senate, who we'd been tweeting back and forth, right. Elizabeth Empkin. So, yeah, it's been great. A lot of good radio, a lot of good media. So, raised a lot of money, too.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Well, that's what,
important.
That's what it takes to get it done.
We haven't done a fundraiser. That's the ironic part. We just did a lot of national radio, and people have been tweeting to us and posting on our Facebook wall. Hey, I heard your message in Tennessee. A guy ran in, he made a donation afterwards, then followed us on Twitter. So,
wow.
There is something to be said for national media outside of our area. We need money, ultimately.
All right. And how is it going for you right now? I mean, it is an uphill battle. Everybody knows that.
Absolutely. And, I like metrics. Of course, I'm going to say it's going great. Every candidate would.
Sure.
I don't do spin very well. I was a Secret Service agent, not a politician. But the organization's grown again. We're up to 2,000 volunteers, 400 of which are Democrats. So that's great. We've been doing some focus groups, and turns out 2 out of 3 people, 66%, prefer us across the board over Ben Cardin. That's, and again, these are real, hard metrics. Our strategy's been great. We've been focusing a lot on Prince George's County and Baltimore City, getting the school choice message out there, the empowerment zone message out there. So it's really going well. The money is really coming in handily now.
Talk to me a little. You mentioned focus groups, and that always perks my ears because this is where you get people in a group in a room, and you ask them a lot of questions. You get a sense of where they are. Sometimes they put devices on their fingers to see how they react to certain things. What are you hearing about Maryland, people from Maryland, and how they look at the situation regarding the debt, the deficit, and, quite frankly, spending in the state of Maryland? Yeah,
the money, the debt's not even real to most folks, we find out. They know it. I mean, obviously they know it's bad, but, bad's just the generic bad. They don't comprehend. I try to make it real for them. I say, think about this. The private real estate market in the United States, depending on the valuations, roughly $9 to $10 trillion. Every single home, privately owned property in the United States, if you sold every one of them, we're still $6 to $7 trillion short. I mean, it's an absurd amount of money. They're very concerned. And I try to make it real for the younger folks, too. I say, listen, interest rates are going to have to go up at some point. You are going to pay more for your car and your home. Mm-hmm. You remember the early 1980s, those 16, 17% mortgage rates?
Remember, yeah.
I mean, those were very real. That's going to be their problem. And I said, listen, you got to get involved. Vote for me or don't vote for me, but you damn well better get involved in this election cycle. You may not like politics, but it likes you. You do not get to opt out of the process.
All right, but you're a Republican, and it's an overwhelmingly Democratic state. Do you get some sense that the tide might be, because I think it is. My feeling is the tide is slowly beginning to turn in Maryland, but there's a lot of turning that needs to be done for Republicans to do well statewide.
Of course, it is an uphill battle. We cut his lead in half, but even yesterday we were sitting up there in there's a little galley up there, and a gentleman came up from Google, and this guy's name was Tim, and he said, I live in Maryland. He said, I have a ton of very liberal friends. He said, you know what? They're all voting for you. He said, they love your message. They love the clarity of it. They love the fact that you're not an insider. A lot of people talk about the outsider. Everybody says that. I'm the outsider. Well, I legitimately am. I mean, I was not a politician. That's a tautological fact. So
it's interesting, though, that you say you're going to Baltimore City and Prince George's County. All right, a lot of minorities, blacks live there, and typically are voting for Democrats. Barack Obama is on the ballot this year, and that's an added hurdle for you to get over. But what has been the reaction from those who live in Baltimore City or Prince George's County to your message?
Yeah,
what are they saying to you?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, really, they say they're actually shocked sometimes I'm there. I spent a lot of time in Lexington Market. A couple weeks back, I used to tell a story. We're down at Hartford and St. Lo Drive, and people were stunned. They said, Republican or Democrat? I said, I'm not going to give you that easy way out.
Good for you, yeah.
I said, I'm going to give me 30 seconds of your time to tell you what I stand for on the economy, healthcare, and education, and you tell me what I am. Mm-hmm. We had a 50-50 split. Some people said Democrat, some people said Republican, and it just goes to show you. We've had a lot of problems with Republicans as well, guys. I don't do spin well. So we're not the establishment. I hate that word. Candidate. We haven't been. We're willing to take on both sides when we think the principles are right. I'm not afraid of that. I never have been.
What did you think of the speeches last night from Chris Christie and Ann Romney?
I thought they were good. I thought Christie brought up a good point. Enough of this poll-tested focus group nonsense. Let's just start saying what we stand for and start marketing our ideas. I mean, we're losing not the ideas war. We're losing the marketing war. They're actually getting people to believe in this class warfare nonsense. It's garbage. We don't have classes in the United States.
I thought it was interesting that he said, we've had a point in our country where we want to be loved more than anything else, instead of making the right decision and the tough decision, but we go for being loved over making that hard choice. And I think he was right on that, without a doubt.
It's better to be respected than to be loved. I mean, where's the realpolitik in this? I mean, at some point we need a policy of realism. This isn't utopia. We don't live in a fantasy land. This is the real world. I mean, Governor O'Malley's speech yesterday, that was absurd. I mean, this guy's a walking soundbite. I was on another station yesterday, and I said, we got to take the gloves off with this guy. He's a fraud, and we need to call him a fraud. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be gruff, but it's true. The guy is a walking soundbite. He takes money every day out of the pockets of Maryland. There's more and more every year, and he just thinks of a new soundbite to frame it as somehow being good for you. People are sick of this guy, and I know I'm not running against O'Malley, but I'm tired of him too.
I want to ask you, because, when I come to the convention, I look at things with the practiced eye of a reporter, and I look at things that would, grab a reporter's attention. You're a former Secret Service agent.
That's right.
And as you walk around the complex here, I know you can't help but look at this from a security standpoint. Any thoughts?
Slightly suffocating this year, is it?
East Berlin is how some people have described it.
The green zone, someone called it before. Carla and I nearly missed this interview this morning. We got up an hour early. We're only 10 minutes away. We literally, I had to leave her at the checkpoint. I said, I don't know if we're going to make it in time. It's a lot. I had a few, of course I do look at things, but there's always, it's an opinion thing. Security's not a black and white issue, or else we just put them in a fishbowl and walk them around. There's always a gray area, and I have to trust that they based it on a valid threat assessment, but it is tight. If you're one of the bad guys, so to say, this isn't the time to I think you're wasting your time on this one. So.
But no doubt, there's enough security here to deal with anything that might come up.
I think we could handle a foreign invasion into Tampa. Don't you? Yeah. On the ground, there's about 40 SWAT teams at every checkpoint. So.
I said my newfound respect for Secret Service and other people is that, boy, they are bored all day long, sitting there in that hot sun with all that equipment on and all those guns. It's just like, wow, how do you deal with that? It's boredom.
We even have a Secret Service agent that rides with us in the bus over to the other building.
Yeah, of course. They got to keep you clean.
Got to keep us in the bubble.
In the bubble. That's right. Yeah, you want to talk about uncomfortable. Imagine being frisked by your old friends. They're looking at me with a smile. Someone said, were they friends? I was on another show yesterday. I said, they are now. Even if they weren't before. So it's been interesting.
Well, Dan Bongino, it's good to have you on. It's always good to have you on. Best of luck to you.
Thanks,
Dan Bongino running for the Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate against Ben